on Wednesday the 6th of February, Felixstowe Town Council met on the seafront, and there were a number of interesting discussions on planning applications. There were some public questions. I put one about our history, the fact that the heritage of our town and peninsula is very important, and asked the council if they would support our open day coming in September. And the very last item on the agenda at this particular meeting was item number 11 said, the 100th anniversary of seaplanes in Felixstowe, and this was to be presented by Councillor Jan Garfield. It didn't say that she's currently Deputy Mayor and will be in office come April, I think. May, right. So if we could switch to the other camera, we've got in front of us what this is all about, really. This is a blow-up of the Felixstowe Fury, a triplane that was massive for its day. It had a wingspan of 123 feet, 5 engines, absolutely glorious. It was actually designed and built here in Felixstowe, so think of that. We were the leading edge of maritime aviation. So, Jan, where are we going to be with this? What are you looking to do? Why are you looking to do it? And what sort of help do you need to be able to do it?
Well, Michael, that's the question, is it not?
It is.
We're hoping to have the biggest celebration we can possibly afford.
Right.
And afford is the crux of the matter.
Is it really, right?
We have, at that meeting that you were referring to at Town Council,
yes.
We were, after my little speech of begging, basically, they agreed to underwrite us to the tune of £6,000.
Not 66.
£6,000.
Right. That's
which incidentally will only buy us one flying boat. But
yeah.
But
actually,
it's enough to start off with.
It's seed corn, isn't it?
Yes.
Hopefully.
And we have now written to many of the businesses in the town and
right.
to some individuals,
okay.
Basically asking them to sponsor us.
Okay.
And they can sponsor either a particular thing, like say if they want to, they can sponsor a Spitfire or something, or the any other planes that we might have a wish list for,
right.
which we have.
Indeed,
and
we would.
Also for publicity, for printing, anything like that. If they
right.
don't want to just give us money, they can sponsor something.
A specific thing.
And then it will be announced
what,
actually on the day.
And put their logo on it.
Well, it'll be announced
over
over the, we're
yeah.
going to have a tannoy all the way along the front, we hope.
Yes, okay.
And it'll be sponsored for that.
Right, can we, for our viewer, and sadly a lot of them would never have seen or even know that there was an RAF station here, because all traces of it disappeared under the recent reconfiguration of the port, when the final assembly shed in which something like the Fury would have been made, shed 22, was very sadly taken off for scrap. So we don't actually have any physical evidence now, do we, at all, of well, it wasn't actually RAF, was it? I'd been doing a little bit of recapping, and it would appear we had a Commander Sampson who came here in 1912, mm-hmm. because the Stroke Admiralty War Department decided that Harwich had to have an air station, mm-hmm. and he came apparently and based himself at Shotley. So the buzz around the harbour was it was going to go to Shotley.
Yeah, yeah.
So when I think it was Squadron Commander Risk,
that's correct,
turned up in 1913 and planted his flag at Felixstowe by the dock, between the dock and Landguard, the pundits lost their bets, didn't they? So Felixstowe had this, but it was actually the Royal Navy Air Service, wasn't it? Which was the Navy's sort of comparable arm to the Royal Flying Corps for the Army.
That's correct.
So it proceeded that way, did it not, until the end of World War One? Because the RAF didn't come into existence until 1919.
That's correct.
So what I found intriguing in this story, and I know that you've been doing your research as well, and it might be something that you've overlooked, was that 1913 was a very significant date in American-British relationships, because it signified 100 years that we hadn't fought each other.
Oh, really? I hadn't realised
Yes,
that.
and that was something we should really put into our American cousins, because last year, remember, we did the Heritage Open Day, we
Yes.
did the Martellos.
Yeah.
They declared war on us in 1812
Yes.
because the French were having a pop,
Yes.
so was everybody else. So
Yeah.
it was an opportunist declaration of war, America. But in 1813, we signed a truce, and there was a number of American businessmen who were very keen that Porty and Curtis, who were the two real innovators in seaplanes, would fly jointly across the Atlantic, because it hadn't been done, and that's what this was being developed to do.
Yes.
And
Which
so all
eventually-
of that connection seems to have been
Which
lost.
eventually developed into the Schneider Trophy
Absolutely,
races.
yes.
And for people's information, we have approached the Science Museum, who currently house the Schneider Trophy,
Right.
which was last won from Felixstowe by Britain.
It was.
And in fact, we own it in inverted commas, because
We
we won it
with
three times
on the trot,
and so we really
like
own
the
it.
FA Cup.
Who
Really.
actually owns it is another matter.
Well, actually, the funding for that, the Snyder Trophy, that is, government was strapped for cash. Unusual, isn't it? I mean, that never happens, does it? No. But it did.
Yeah.
And a very wealthy lady actually put a lot of funding in keeping the attempt to go against the Italians and Germans. So it's not unusual that we do have private money funding particular things, and it would be really good for now. But the other thing that I picked up, and I think we sort of had a look through here, was that particular site of RNAS Felixstowe and then RAF Felixstowe is probably one of the very few bases on the planet that has been Air Force, Navy during the war, because the Beehive used it to do all their
HMS
boats
Beehive,
and whatever.
it became during the war.
And when the Air Force left, I think in 1962, the Army moved in, probably much more luxurious than staying in Landguard, etc., etc. So this actually, what you're looking to celebrate on the 4th of August, all four services have had reason to use it. And don't we have the Army here with now, they've got their own sort of specialist wing, haven't they? Isn't it helicopters or
Yes,
something?
I think so.
Don't they fly them around? Don't they need to do training days?
Yes, they
Well,
do.
don't they have training days on the 4th of August?
I
Don't
know.
they fly up and down
We-
rivers? And
Well, we could try and find out. We haven't even thought about the Army,
oh,
to be
right.
quite honest.
And
But I mean, it's very much in its infancy
Oh, I
at the
know.
moment. It was only not discovered it, but I heard about it from a chance remark that Councillor Slemmings
Yes.
made, who
Yeah.
was very keen on it.
yes,
And I thought about it, and I thought, well, it's about time this town has something to really, really
Oh,
celebrate.
it's-
and
and it
it's
need-
not very often the centenary comes around.
no, it's not.
And it really is extremely important, and people don't know about it. You're quite correct.
We've
They
like
don't
losing
know
our
about
history,
it.
really. It's like
And we need
amnesia.
to bring it to
Yeah.
people's attention.
We do.
But we also need to involve the town.
Absolutely.
It's no good us, the council, saying we are doing this. We need
No.
the town's support.
No,
And we intend to have that day. We've got as far as planning. We're
Right.
going to have a church service at St John's.
Yes, very appropriate.
Celebration church service
Yeah.
with all the services involved, if we can possibly get them.
Right.
And all the cadets, guides, scouts, boys brigade, anybody with
Right.
their banners, and it's going to be very much like a Remembrance Day
Right.
service, but much more celebratory, obviously.
Yes.
And then we're going to have a parade, mustering at the Spa, and marching down.
Couldn't open the Spa for the day ourselves.
That's up to
Hello,
the coastal.
Woodbridge. Open the Spa just for a day. Yes.
Marching down, and with a reception past the town hall,
Yes,
on
yeah,
a sort of
yeah.
dais.
As we
on
do
reception.
on
As we do
Remembrance
Remembrance
Sunday.
Sunday.
Right. Okay.
And then we had hoped to get the leisure centre for a big
Yeah,
lunch.
that would be good.
But it's booked for the day. This is the trouble.
Is
We're
it?
trying to do things quickly.
Right.
So we're going to have a reception.
So we need a big
lunch
space somewhere,
at the town
don't
hall.
we?
It's organised at the town hall.
Oh, right.
Which we're going to invite about just over 100 people.
Right.
Too.
Uh-huh.
But hopefully, to keep everybody else entertained, we're going to have stalls along the front.
Good.
That's again
Yeah.
approaching Suffolk Coastal.
Some music, no doubt.
Because I hadn't realised that we didn't own our own prom, but that's another matter.
We transferred most of what we had, sadly, to Woodbridge. Most.
So that is already coming in. I mean, I've had a great deal of help from Mary Wyatt.
Yes.
And the Central Felixstowe Residents Association, who are
Right.
very good.
Right.
So hopefully that will come off. And then we're going to have a big air display in the afternoon. Bearing in mind that the Lowestoft air display is no longer taking place this year,
No.
and neither is the South End.
So really for the East Coast,
So
the only air
it'll be
display
the-
or the only
yes.
game in town will be Felixstowe.
And we've got an extremely knowledgeable gentleman called Nigel Wilson,
Uh-huh.
who runs the who owns the DAC that we
Right.
had for the RAF regiment celebrations when
Oh,
my
right.
husband was mayor 3 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And he's organising all the aircraft.
Good.
And he's going to give us various scenarios of what we can afford and what we can get. So
Yes.
I've had urgings from various people to get as much as we can and then collect the money afterwards.
Well,
Now I'm not like that.
No.
I need to know how much I've got, or how much we've got. It isn't just me. It's the town council basically.
Yeah.
But I seem to have taken it.
I mean,
on.
the last time we had something similar was the Queen's Silver Jubilee, when we had a music festival.
Right.
And that ran for 2 days, and we had Chaz and Dave. They came by the town hall and played there, and that was very good. But that was run by an individual
Yes.
who actually, I'm not sure whether he certainly ended up somewhat out of pocket towards bankruptcy, because a lot of commitments that were made to him then subsequently apparently didn't get honoured.
Yes.
But what I think both Southend and Lowestoft do, don't they? It is a bucket collection
Yes.
for those who are sort of there to see, and it depends whether. So, but you need to cover an awful amount of it before that point. But you said something very interesting at the town council, and that was a flying boat would cost us 5,000.
Yeah.
Which
What's
was,
that?
yeah, but that was a very precise figure. So who's got one, and where does it come from? And if it were to get here, would the flying boat land, and could people have a trip on it? And if so, could we run a lottery type thing for, say, a couple of, if they could take 3 passengers, then you'd have 3 prizes of a trip, a ticket at £1 each. I'm sure you'd sell 5,000 in the drop of 6 months.
This was a privately owned one. I'm not
Right.
quite sure where it came from. But this Nigel Wilson
Yes.
says he knows people who have got a Catalina flying
Right.
boat.
But would they be able to land?
Who would land if the CAA license, which we have to get,
Yeah.
said it could,
Right.
and provide the sea conditions were right,
We're okay, yeah.
and would hopefully be prepared to offer trips, not on that day,
No.
but offer a trip in the flying boat,
Right.
which we could raffle.
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
or,
You know, I mean, people would go for that.
Yes.
Because there is another point that came to my mind in the small wee hours, and that was, we've got RAF Orfordness, we had RAF Bordsea, you had RAF Maltsham. If we were to look at this sort of from the start up to World War One, if we look at World War Two, the history of it, you made reference to the Snyder Trophy. Now, the Snyder Trophy allowed the engine development to get to the point where it could power the Spitfire and the Hurricane, which gave us an aircraft that we could use for the Battle of Britain.
Yeah.
But that would have been as naught if the work that was going on at RAF Bordsea hadn't been successful
Oh, absolutely.
to give us the eyes and the control so
Yeah.
that those very few precious aircraft could be in the right place,
That's
right
right.
time, to be as effective
That's
as they
right.
were. And without both Bordsea and RAF Felixstowe, and this is really amazing when you consider how close they are together, just this small peninsula on the River Deben and Orwell, if those two things hadn't been coexistent at that time, we probably wouldn't be sat here, Jan.
Well, absolutely.
But you know, an invasion of our country would have been much more probable
Well, Frank
without
Whit-
those things.
Frank Whittle was
Yes,
based at the port,
he
and
did.
he's now got a plaque there because
Yeah.
my husband put it up.
As was Lawrence of Arabia.
That's right.
So perhaps the Saudis might like to sort of, you know, have a stall to celebrate their freedom, because without Lawrence of Arabia, it's very
Oh, absolutely.
improbable that they would have been free.
Absolutely.
So the things coming out of RAF Felixstowe is quite extraordinary, actually. Its value and its relevance is certainly underplayed, and it hasn't been valued.
And I feel that this would also bring this knowledge to people in the town. I mean, I'm not saying people in the town don't know it, because I'm sure lots and lots of them do, but there are people like me who have come in, we've been here 10 years, who really, till we came here, knew nothing about it.
An awful lot of people don't put together the engine development of the Snyder Trophy. And then the radar control of that engine in an airframe, Spitfire Hurricane, that led to. So, I mean, I wouldn't like to make the claim that the work that carried on here in the 30s, etc., won the war, but it certainly made it possible to win the war, and without it, we would have undoubtedly lost.
Absolutely.
So, I'm wondering whether RAF Mottlesham, with Douglas Bader's involvement there, and others, whether there's any contact there.
Yes, they're going to be involved.
Right, because they've still they've got a control tower still, haven't they?
That's right. On a Sunday, it's open on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, so I mean that at least that's alive, isn't it?
Absolutely. So there's two people there who are extremely knowledgeable.
Right.
Don't ask me their names at the moment because I can't remember.
Well, Jan, you and I are. I'm awful at now. I look at Di and say, and then but we won't go.
It's my age.
Well, let's hope it holds up until August the 4th.
Let's hope it does.
You know.
But anyway, getting back to the Schneider Trophy, we've contacted the Science Museum, and they say there's no reason at all why they couldn't loan it to us if it's not already out on loan. So we will have that for the weekend, hopefully.
Right. How can we get the Navy hooked? I mean, if we look at apparently a lot of work went on when they were doing the flying boats, in doing refueling boats and all that sort of stuff to work around the seaplanes. And coming out of that knowledge was the ability for the high-speed motor launches, which rescued the air crews it ditched.
We've been offered an MTB.
Yes, we've got to have one of those
for £830. So if somebody would like to sponsor the MTB, that would be really good.
Is that its fuel cost? Is it all?
That's its fuel cost, because it's got to come up from, I don't know where it's got to come from, Thames Estuary, I think.
There was one in the Queen's Jubilee, a glorious one.
That's that.
109,
that's the one.
106.
That's the one.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed that river pageant. I was hugely disappointed that the information about the boats wasn't the commentary, because I really wanted to know more.
Along with the rest of the country, I think.
Yeah. So we don't really want to make that mistake again, do we?
So where we are with this is the fact that we've booked the church. That's about what we've booked.
Right.
The town hall for the reception. Right. We've got Nigel Wilson involved, getting the planes for us. We're having another meeting beginning of March to sort out the planes. But what we really need more than anything else is money, because the more money we get, the bigger that we can make the event for Felixstowe. And we're already getting people through Mary Wyatt, bless her heart, who are applying to me now to have stalls along the front.
Have we got any sort of idea what that theme should be? Or is it wide open?
We've called the event Wings on Waves. We thought that was quite catchy.
Yeah, I don't know how you can get out of the army into that, but perhaps they can walk on waves.
Maybe.
Yeah.
The port is involved.
Yes.
We're hoping we're going to get some sponsorship from them, but they're very strapped like everybody else is, and everything has to go through Hong Kong.
I mean, would they have key space to tie up to, or would they have to go to Harwich to?
I don't know about that.
Because we have no mooring left.
We could ask about that, but there's new visitor centre down at Langard. Yeah. Will be open by then, hopefully. So
is Langard involved? Is it doing anything?
Not at the moment, they aren't. But as I say, we've only had 2 meetings so far. This was only less than a month ago. Yeah. We've got a long way. Well, less than a fortnight ago, basically, and we've gone a long way since then.
Oh, indeed. Yes.
And we're hoping to have a sort of exhibition of photographs and stuff that in this visitor centre, so that Langard will be.
That would be your intro.
We could involve the Langard Trust and see whether they want to be involved with it. I think we've written to them, because we have written to lots of businesses and lots of individuals in the town.
But you're talking about money. I mean, there is things in kind that needn't be money.
Yes, that's very true.
And looking at it from a point of view of the usage that space has been put to in the 100 years it's been there, it is quite astonishing.
Yes, absolutely.
And they are the Royal Air Force, the Royal Navy, Army groups of all descriptions, all of which, some, if they were there post 62, then they're 70, 80-ish, aren't they?
Yes.
But there will be people who either knew them or were there or
Yes.
still are there.
Yes.
You know, I went to a beehive dedication of a plaque up on the viewing centre
Right.
a couple of years ago. And I believe that the guy who made the speech was the son of the commanding officer.
Right.
And it was very moving, and there were quite a lot of the old boys there with the medals and glint in their eye.
Well, I'm just
And we really should put the word out that. So therefore, you could have a beehive group, because that was quite a massive group, wasn't it? With no place to call home. The army might be a bit more, but we do have them, and strange to relate, what we do know with our military is they do have training programs.
Yes.
And normally they could be sort of only 5 months ahead. So perhaps in the 6th month, in August, they could look to do some interesting training on the 4th of August over the sea somewhere.
Yeah, they could do.
Couldn't they? And they could go up and down rivers
Yes.
and tie that. They could overfly their old bases, you know, of RAF Alfred Ness, which was a very key development post WW2. Malkusham must be really significant.
Problem with the RAF during August,
They're on holiday.
they're on holiday.
Well, I never used to go on holiday. You go as station commitments allow.
We've tried various, because we wanted an RAF band
Yeah.
to lead it.
Well, it should be, shouldn't it?
But the RAF band doesn't do anything during August.
Well, shame on you, RAF band.
so
Even
we-
for the day.
We have approached the Royal Hospital School, Holbrook.
Yes.
Because
Yeah, that's
in-
Navy.
They
pretty
did,
much.
on the 75th anniversary, 1988, they had a big do, not exactly the same as this, but similar to what we're going to do. And they led the parade, and they'd only been formed 2 weeks.
Had they really?
So we have written to the Royal Hospital School,
Yes.
and we are waiting their bandmaster, bandmaster to get back to us.
Because they'll be on holiday.
Because they'll be on holiday. This is the problem. But
There's a very
we're doing
good
it this particular date because we can't get the planes. The
No.
only date we can get a lot of the planes are August the 4th. I don't understand why,
No.
but that's
No,
it.
no, that's and
And-
it's an appropriate date
And
anyway.
it was formed on August the 5th,
Yeah, I do.
1913.
Yeah. No, I think that's grand, that part of it. And
we have approached the Carnival Association
oh yes.
with my other hat on.
Ah,
And because it was Councillor Slemmings had wondered what we could do with the crowds in the crowds that we hope would be coming in the evening after the flying display, you know, so that
Right.
they'd have all these little stalls, but
yes.
rather than drift away. And remembering what the port put on when
Yes, down
they
on-
had
yeah,
their
they did.
celebration
Yes,
down
they
at Barber
did.
Leisure Centre.
Yeah.
I've approached the Carnival Association about some Felixstowe's Got Talent contestants
Absolutely.
being asked to perform
Yeah.
down by the
Ideal.
Leisure Centre.
Yeah.
So I only
You'll
sprang,
have a band to back them if
I
need
only
be.
s- well they have their backing tapes. I only sprang this on them on Monday, so
Right.
they're thinking about it.
Well,
So-
I mean, the leisure centre
but then we'd need a
space is a
stage.
good one to
But
have.
then we'd need a stage, you see, so that'd be more money.
Come on, we need to stay. No, I mean, what I find amazing, you've got all this kit sat around in barns and whatever. I mean, I found it particularly, what's the word? The lack of community spirit in our town.
Well, I'm hoping this will make it.
I was looking for some display stands for the Heritage Open Day.
Yeah.
And there's a particular organisation in our town who has a exhibition once every 2 years, and it wasn't prepared to lend its, even with the financial, it wasn't prepared. And I sort of thought, you know, we've got all this, haven't we? We've all got stuff coming out of our
Yes,
ears, and it just
yeah.
sits there getting
It's-
old in the dark. It's a very strange world
It's
we now
sad.
live in, you
It's
know.
sad,
and it's-
but
but I mean, you've got enough enthusiasm beyond that. And
I was really heartened
It's
at
time.
that
It's
town
time is
council
here.
meeting.
Yeah, it was
The
good.
people that came up to me afterwards and
Yes.
said, I can do so and so. What a wonderful idea.
Yeah.
Approach so and so. Approach so and so.
Absolutely,
And it's
yeah.
you know it's.
See, I thought you could have called it Felixstowe air on the basis of the quality of the air that we have here, which is I mean that was what made it in the Edwardian period, was the quality of the air.
No, we wanted something that
But
was really
you
catchy.
and you want to get the waves.
Yeah.
And I don't, because we don't have any rocks. We just have sand and shingle,
Yeah.
don't we? Right. So where are you? I mean, I noted in the press. I mean, it's good that the town council is about, isn't it? To write
Absolutely.
the headlines for. I don't know whether we're on this camera. Are we on this camera? Yeah. And this is the front page, and we need many of those, don't we, going forward?
We do.
Did it get into the East
I don't know,
Anglian
I didn't
Daily
look.
Times?
I didn't look because we don't take it. But,
No, because it needs to go out.
it needs to
you
go.
know, it needs to go further
We
and
want
faster,
it further
doesn't
than
it?
Felix, so we're going to go on Radio Suffolk,
Yes.
and we'd like to spread it as much as we possibly can. If it goes national,
Well, it should.
fantastic.
It should go
But
international.
we do need people to help us advertise it.
You do.
And we could do with somebody sponsoring the advertising, because that's going to be very expensive.
Is it? Right.
I mean, we can get the free papers, who are marvellous, and
Yeah.
they'll do it free,
Yeah.
because they always do. They're
Yeah.
amazing. And Richard Cornwall has been superb,
Yeah.
and has promised us any publicity that we want.
Yeah.
We're going to put banners around the town
Right.
nearer the event, sort of reminding people about it.
Right.
But we need to go, not global, but we need to go much further.
Well, we
afield
should.
than us.
I mean, in that, at the time that this was underway, you actually had a number of very wealthy Americans looking to sponsor this to celebrate 100 years of. Now we're in our 200th years of peace between our nations. Isn't that significant?
Absolutely.
And the Curtis family, which was the American side of this development, I mean, they built these and then we modified them when they got here. He must have some descendants. And the Smithsonian, I understand, has some of that aircraft in Washington.
They do.
Actually has that.
They have the hull.
Do they?
They have the hull.
So they've got that bit there,
Yes.
which is fabulous, isn't
Yes.
it? And that was built to Ponty's design, apparently, because it needed to be stronger for it to be a seaplane. To be a lake plane, you didn't need, it wasn't going to be hammered. So there are, and you've got other strands, haven't you? I mean, you do have Lawrence of Arabia. I want to be alone,
Yes.
coming here.
Absolutely.
But then apparently he got very involved in the boats.
Yes.
And those boats subsequently rescued our air crews, so they were there to fight another day.
Absolutely.
And so all of those things we should do well. Now, we would be more than pleased, Jan, that you give us regular updates as and when you feel there might be
Absolutely.
something you'd like to share with our viewer.
Yeah.
Because what we don't know ever is where any of this goes, do we anymore?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's a whole new world, isn't it? And the something over a cup of coffee in one of our many cafes could go anywhere.
Absolutely.
So your program now is to take stock and move forward within the resources you have.
Yes.
So unless you get the resources to expand,
Yes.
the things that you would be able to arrange for the day will be limited unless we get things in kind, and particularly if the military would like to look to do a, say, seaborne invasion somewhere
That would be
and pick us.
Yes.
Because that would fit on the East Coast for this coming. I mean, it could be. I mean, it wouldn't be a direct competitor to the Olympics, but it would give people something to be doing during that August period,
That's
wouldn't
right.
it?
Not forgetting that the carnival is the following weekend.
Yeah, I
I'll
mean,
get a plug in for that as well.
well, equally, I as you know, we are doing the Heritage Open Day come September,
Yes.
and what we now have for that is the Bartlett story. We will now be doing the 53 flood, and hopefully on your 4th of August, we may find a number of our visitors may have been based here during that period, because we are very weak on RAF who were
Yes.
stationed here. The Devons, who were the key regiment who, after the event, plugged the wall so that it was safe from the next one. So there, and also oddly, we had a lot of RAF Cambridge undergraduates who came down here
to help.
and also help. So we do have a lot of experience of community help and whatever. So perhaps this is a celebratory one. Thank you very much, Jan.
You're very welcome,
And
Michael.
come on back the next time.
I will do. Thank you very much indeed.